Hello everyone, it is Monday the 23rd of January 2023, so it's 0123, the 23rd day of 2023, and very interesting gematria day. I've talked about this before, like multiple, pieces of symbolism that utilize 32 or 23, and there's like movies about it, even Jim Carrey with the movie called 23, I believe. And then water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and 2 divided by 3 is 0.666, and then 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, which is like there's a correlation between like Jesus, there, depending on what group you're from, and if you follow Chaldean gematria or the like other ones, like ordinal and other ones. And all very interesting stuff. And I could share links to these various ones that I use, and then how I even do Bible searches on certain applications online to take a look at various searches. But anyway, didn't do a video yesterday. Didn't have a whole lot to say, and I was doing like quite a bit of research, and I'm trying to process everything and get it together, because not only am I looking at so much science right now and research and trying to get reading done, but I'm also tracking and following international events, and things keep on escalating, right? And we keep on getting all these distractions and diversions during periods of time where we need people to be awake and alert and addressing things that they're trying to push while they're creating diversions and distractions that even cause the death of innocent civilians. This stuff is terrifying to me that this stuff happens on a regular basis. But even with the digital ID rollout, they're still trying to push that in various different places in Canada and the US. And this is like a social credit system that is going to further allow people that we shouldn't be trusting anymore, because they're clearly lying to us about everything right now. We shouldn't be allowing them to control our finances, our banking systems, and like what we can do with our own money and our own resources. This is overreach, right? And so like even with Martin Luther King, who was assassinated, and first he was threatened, to have like stuff that he's done in his past to be exposed to people, and I hope that people realize that there's a lot more forgiveness with humans than what's being pushed, this narrative online, you know what I mean, about like zero forgiveness, because you've got a lot of people that are intolerant, that they're getting more of a voice than people like me who are trying to share information in a non-emotional way and try to provide links to research and or give books and or names of people for people to do their own research. So this is what I'm saying, people, please do your own research. That's the whole point to all this stuff. And while I'm trying to share just information that I have, that are not theories, that are based on facts and things that I can see for myself, and experiments that I've done on my own to lead me to these conclusions. And so he was saying himself too, like in order to liberate people, we need to educate them. And this is what I'm trying to do, because our education systems, our healthcare systems, our cabinet members, and so many different people are missing the mark. And we're still pushing narratives that for the last couple hundred years, like instead of just thinking critically and addressing like key discrepancies to things that are getting pushed at even at a young age, it's being like we're being more indoctrinated. And but he was even saying, like he was even going more extreme, like he said that not only do you need to do that, but anyone that's trying to or chooses to or refuses to look at like the reality of the world, and or pushes like the wrong misleading narrative, then he was saying like that they should be eliminated at all costs, right? I'm not at that level. Like I believe that people should be given the truth, and then again with like with what we're being taught in school, like that needs to be even like overhauled completely. So even Haeckel, Haeckel, he was someone that was also pushing like this Darwinian creationism in his time, and his embryos, like they're still like he was also like charged with being corrupt and lying about all this stuff, about all of his work. It wasn't scientific at all. Like he faked images to make it look like human embryos and dog embryos and other embryos were very similar, and so that was like proof of creationism and the theory of evolution, and a proof that we came from rocks or algae, you know what I mean, and it just all like lies about evolution. And even today, like they're still in textbooks, they don't go away. So like why, even though this has been repeatedly debunked, and even he himself, like he was charged for like this criminal activity and like all the money that he got from people by exploiting them, and their ignorance on the when you give people images or models, it's really hard to get people to not believe it. It's hard to explain. Anyway, because like universal law and order, it's not man-made law and order, and so a lot of people talk about natural law. I do believe that we can't have just like anarchy. I've given the graph before, the X and Y graph. I have so many notes, but I hope I can get back to them. And you've got authoritarian at the top, which means completely controlled by government. The y-axis, and then you've got anarchy, which is complete and total like lack of control at the bottom of the graph, and then on the far left you have like communism, socialism, extreme, and then you have on the far right you have things like fascism, tyranny, etc. But which is the x-axis, and so like this is just an example, right? And so I'm more like I would say libertarian in my views, and where I also believe that people need to be, not need to be. I don't want to push anything on people. I don't want to force people to think any other way. I'm not trying to indoctrinate anyone with these videos. I'm trying to do the opposite of that. I'm trying to show people that for many years we've been misled, and when I'm showing proof of the moon landings being fake and so many things about space and NASA being repeatedly like exposed, it's just I'm just trying to like get people to like think critically. And anyway, and so when you get when there's an imbalance right within this graph, like this is where we see like not only resistance and friction and tension, but we also see like the more extremes. Like there's more suffering, there's increases in like in like the cost of all like utilities and goods and services. There's a increase in control of government. There's so many different things, and then also more importantly, like especially when you're on the extreme left and then high up on the graph, like extreme communist with an authoritarian regime, you have the death of literally millions of people or more. And this has been shown throughout history. So I just want to see if I can get back to my older notes on natural law. Anyway, so yeah, and we're supposed to be living more to like more in tune with nature and the rules and laws of nature. And then when we become more imbalanced and exploit our resources and our water and all these things, this takes away. And I don't know how long this video is going to be again. Whatever. Japan. I was looking at some research on subway systems and how they took fungus, slime mold, and they put like different with the different nodes they duplicated Japan, and then the different subway systems, and they put like oats like in certain like nodal areas where there was the stops, and this fungus, this slime mold, designed a better rail network than the Japanese government or any experts did or have. And so this is also where we need to look more at like the designs within nature and utilize them more in our designing, in our city planning, and our engineering, and the free energy, how we harness our energy using like more like moon towers and sun towers, and fully like becoming more aware of how they impact us on a cellular level and all that stuff. And anyway, and how we can better utilize it where we're not harming people, making people like more sick, chronically inflamed, having to increase the electrical outflow of like really harmful electrical currents, and not finding ways to mitigate that, and so more cancers, more IBS, more depression, more brain fog, more all these things. It's all honestly because of this stuff. And there's a lot of, and again, do a lot of research, go on VPNs, go on uncensored browsers, and take a look for yourself. Yeah, so I was also again like more onto the like the rules of thermodynamics, so the laws of thermodynamics. And first of all, I can even stop here, and do you know the laws, like the first law, the second law of thermodynamics? This is for the people that keep on like commenting like really negative things on my videos, and but aren't even able to fundamentally like discuss their own like what they believe, right? Like no one has been able to give me any proof of a globe, or even try to, or like debunk like what I'm saying about gravity or any of these things. Like it's, and this is just where like when people can't attack what I'm saying, they have to attack me as a person, and so it's just really frustrating. But anyways, thermodynamics. Matter cannot be created or destroyed, right? It's just transferred or transformed into and so like that's a key point too. So even for us, like us being divine beings that are electrical magnetic in nature, we don't just die and that's it, right? Our avatars do in this three-dimensional or multi-dimensional simulated environment, but our spirit, our soul, or what do you want to call it, does not, and it just gets transferred and moved. And then the second one being gas cannot exist unless it's contained. So like even the air we're breathing, the oxygen, like everything in this environment, it has to be from a contained environment. And everyone's saying like, oh, it's because we've got all these different like atmospheric separated like areas like the stratosphere and the mesosphere, like all these things. And it's, but how are we going in and out of space then with rockets and all these other things if this is a contained environment? And then with the meteorites and the asteroids like coming in, and conveniently how like the impact too, right? Like how it's like always like on a 90-degree angle or like straight down, like where it looks like there was like a drop and then a blast and an impact. And someone who's in the infantry for 15 years of my life and who has like been with like light armored vehicles and who has like shot out of like missiles and out of tanks and out of light armored vehicles, like I said, and Eric's, Carl G's, grenades, like all these things. I could tell you that when I'm looking at these impacts and craters, it looks very similar to impact zones from various other things that I've used even in my career as part of training and not. So when I'm seeing things for myself and making comparisons and assessments, also it's hard for it's come with facts. Yeah, so even with sun, it's interesting about chlorophyll. Talking about it's the only thing that grows with sunlight, like is plants essentially, and that everything else kind of erodes or rusts, or like even like the color on vehicles, like it fades and cracks and goes away, and even furniture like that's left out in the sun and other things too can bake under the sun, obviously, and like I've even like you can smoke meat for days, like just having it being exposed to the sun, and that's something I learned and was taught like how to do by Matt Wright from Naked and Afraid, Mr. Badass himself. But anyway, yeah, too, even with like people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye the Science Guys, these guys are part of like these like elitist occult groups that have been paid to lie to us, right? They're spokespeople, they're paid advertisements, they're walking billboards that just read off cue cards or they read off teleprompters. And they find ways to use big words and boring language to make it look like they're better than us, to make it look like they're intellectually superior to us, and they're lying to us, right? Even Joe Biden, like lying about all of his degrees and like how like he placed in his class and all these awards he's gotten. Like he needs to realize, right, that like just like you're always on the record, especially when you're a public figure, right? And he's been he's been ruining America now since at least the 70s, and so he should know, right, that like he can't say stupid things and like not realize that it's gonna be like verified, and so anything that I've said like even about myself, these are things that I can verify, I can prove, I have references, etc. And so people have tried to say that I've lied about being in the infantry and stuff like that too, and I'm like you don't even know where I'm from, and you're claiming that anyway, it is what it is, because in the States they don't allow females in the combat arms yet, and people just naturally assume like that I'm American. I'm not. I'm Canadian. Puis je viens de Québec. J'étais né là. Je parle français aussi. Anyway. Yeah, and they say things like long ago, like far away, and so that we can't process or understand like just how long it was like for like that the earth was created, or like how long it was that we evolved, like that it took us to evolve from like slime, like all this stuff that is misleading. And there's so many different books that I've looked at, and even like things within nature that would lead me and many others to believe that the earth is significantly younger. At least this simulated version or cycle of it is younger than that, and possibly like a less than 25,000 years. A lot of people think that it's less than 6,000 years, or around 6,000 years old, and they're going off of things like the Great Barrier Reef, that in World War II, when there was submarines and warships that were like destroyed, a lot of it, there was a lot of people that went and researched how to fix that after World War II. So again, they were also not just destroying like monuments and history and culture in various places and supply lines. They were also destroying like the sea and the sea's habitat, right, for like not only coral reefs and essential, you know, ecosystems or biodiverse areas for different species, but anyway, they were also poisoning the waters too in areas. Crazy. And these are all things that like within the oceans, even like more than, I guess, 30% of the rain that hits it lands in water or in the oceans. And it's very like there's like it's like a salt solution. And right now with like the chemtrails and the contrails and the sulfuric acid and all these other things that we're throwing out in the environment, it's getting like recycled or what do you want to call it, and it's making its way into the oceans too. So like every single year it's getting saltier and or like more impacted with like all these chemicals and poisons and other things that we're polluting it with, and we're not doing anything about it when we need to stop. We need to stop this already. It's crazy. Because like not only is it harming like again like the plants, the plant life and the animal life or the species within the ocean, but it's also impacting us as well, right? And this is a contained environment. We need to manage this our earth better in order to allow it to sustain us for, you know, for longer periods of time and not make us go extinct. Like this is a matter of humanity, which is why like this flat earth stuff is important. The fact that like talking about the fact that this is a dome, that we're not going into space, you know, there's no option for us to find another place, right? And even with Neil deGrasse Tyson saying there was an advanced civilization that was created and made its way here, you know, billions of years ago, and like that's how like humans came to be, and that goes completely against his Big Bang theory about like how, oh, like billions of years ago we were created from like one single molecule was able to like duplicate like, and it became like an anaerobic, or sorry, from like an like anaerobic to an aerobic molecule. They put words together to make it seem again like they're really smart, and then when people like me actually like know what these words mean, like we're like, what are you talking about? Like so even with Elon Musk with the atmospheric occlusion, when he was talking about for like this vehicle that he claimed that like landed on the freaking like on the moon or whatever it was. He was talking about like how like the color being so vibrant because of the atmospheric occlusion, which is like which is virtual reality. Like this is literally like admitting not that this is a simulation or whatever you want to call it, or a fake photo, like it's AI generated photo. And I don't know if he's just reading off of cue cards and like he's really not like aware of the reality of the world, like and so like someone that has like again like Tesla and SpaceX, like how do you not know like this stuff, right? And that we used to like harness energy from the moon more, and how there's a black sun that's like all that's what's blocking the moon, and there's so much hidden symbology throughout Hollywood and in music about like the black sun, and then ancient like advanced civilizations that also talked about these like this other like old luminary, what do you want to call it, that used to be lit up. And oh, even with Polaris, that it apparently even like 120 years ago, this was like was seen as a red star, not white, and so something that like even within like a short period of time changed its color and its luminescence or whatever you want to call it. Still, again, the North Pole star, the one that's never moved but has changed colors. And when people are talking about like the spinning too of like the planets and the sun and the moon and us, like I don't believe that anything is spinning. I think that this is a stationary plane, and I believe that these are things that are pulsating or vibrating based on particles and waves, mostly, well, based on waves, and heavily influenced by toroidal fields, electricity, magnetism, and dielectricity that we're processing through our central nervous systems and all that stuff. So yeah, like when I talk about like simulation Earth with a flat plane of inertia that we're perceiving this through and experiencing this through, people play video games, and so like even with that, like this is a like what kind of a dimension is it to you? Like look at a video game and visualize like yourself playing with the characters, and how much free will do they have? Do they have any free will? Like are they like how are they experiencing like that artificial reality that they are in? Are they aware of it? Is there a collective consciousness within these video games? Like who is the creator? Like is the creator, you know, the person that created the video game was a person, like a three-dimensional being, and so, but he created like a one-dimensional, or you know what I mean, like or two-dimensional or whatever you want to call it, game, and that's based off of like binary coding and digital and digital versus cellular makeup. And does that make them less real than us and all this other stuff? Anyways, there's a lot of stuff I'm going on these tangents. I haven't had my like full cup of coffee yet to like discuss all this stuff, but I would love to have these conversations with people in person, like Dr. Jordan Peterson or Richard Dawkins, and destroy his like hypocrisy about even God. Where again, he's the one that was talking about like how there was a big bang here, but then the reason why there's humans is even though like we evolved because of creationism, like there was also like an advanced species that came from like possibly like interdimensional or other dimensions and then came here. So and all that other stuff. And people that are saying that like 46% of Americans and or North Americans believe in the Bible and Christianity, and they make fun of that too. They're saying like, oh yeah, all these people think like take the Bible literally, like Bill Nye and Chris Dawkins, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like again, they make fun of people that are religious, which again is super infuriating when you're a scientist, like you believe in, like I don't know if you believe in this stuff, like you're lying to people about like your own like theories about the world that are not true. But I've even shared before too that there's parts of the Bible that do discuss that it's allegorical, and so not to be taken literally. And so even for me, I do believe that there's higher levels of consciousness, there's higher level beings. I do believe that there's a divine creator or engineer of sorts that created this earth plane and possibly like numerous other ones throughout other realities. But yeah, but that doesn't take away from the fact that like I still believe that we should be following like closely like the Ten Commandments and looking at these like the correlations between like these religious books, because not only do I have the King James version of the Bible, I have other Bibles. I have Buddhist Bibles, I have the Quran, I have so many different like occult books that are seen as like the guides to how to live like a proper life and access your higher levels of consciousness. And I believe that there's so much good in all of these books that even if they're allegorical, there's good messaging in it and how to live a good life and be closer to like the living the life that we are supposed to be living, with like individual suffering necessary for the collective, but also individual suffering also necessary to in order to access these higher level emotions and things like that, and get out of fight or flight and get out of like anger and aggression and things like that, and then seeing the correlations like I was saying with astronomy and astrology, and seeing that they do matter. Our birth charts do matter, and the sun and moon cycles also matter. A lot more than these people that are part of these scientific religious groups or whatever you want to call it, that they try to push. They keep on trying to push everyone away from religion and or like astrology or other things, because then they're stupid, right? Like, oh, how can anyone believe like a Bible that says all these things, like and taking it literally? They're stupid. When again, like a lot of people that I talk to, they don't take it necessarily as literal. There's a lot of truth in the Bible, and there's amazing lessons in it, and it's sacred. And by the way, there's 37 and 29 sections in the Old and New Testament. So like that's like there's 666, and then like, there's so much too within like what they're talking about space and stuff like that with 666 and 88 and in plain sight. And but like with Disney, like with cartoons, with Netflix, with shows and stuff like that, even with like the frog turning into a prince, like with these different films. This is just again like how people were slowly indoctrinating us into believing in creationism and not believing that we're divine beings, like sacred beings with an intelligent creator that far surpasses any of the abilities that we on Earth are capable of experiencing, and we are part of our creator, and he's part of us, or she, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I was going to talk about bloodletting, and that even George Washington in 1799, like it's something that he was doing when he was sick, and even old barbershops like with the post that's red and white, Like that was like a post that represented like that was a place where bloodletting, so like taking like removing blood so that your blood can like regenerate and be healthier. Like this was stuff that was common in practice. And so I've said that a lot of like ancient occult advanced civilizations and indigenous civilizations all over the world like still do it till this day, but have also done it in the past. And this is something that that you can see in petroglyphs and hieroglyphs and ancient scripts and texts, and then even again like leaders of countries that also did bloodletting, because that it allowed again for like the healthy blood to be regenerated. And yeah. The Bible, for the life of the flesh is in the blood. Leviticus 17:11. I'm going on all these tangents. I'll go on like both things. Joseph, like in the Bible, 12 boys, 1 girl. This also like something that represented the zodiac, but also representing Ophiuchus as a possible like 13th constellation in the sky that would be seen in the December time frame. And that even like the old representations of Capricorn, funny or interestingly enough, was a Capricorn at the top and a crocodile at the bottom, so like a one horn. Oh, kind of like what this is. Anyway, one horn at the top. Don't roll with that, anyone. I was going to talk about friction and resistance and how it's necessary to evolve, and then I went on a tangent. But like even in domes, like they were looking at ways that we can simulate like our earthly environment and within dome structures, and build plant life and build and grow food and things like that. And so trees, like they were having difficulties with trees, and they would grow like really like they would be like weak as they grew, and thin and then long, and then like but not very long, and then they would topple over. And the reason why was because there was no wind that was in that environment that was offering resistance for it to strengthen and toughen up, right? And so like if you look at all these like these trees within the world, like the big large trees, especially the ones that have been shredded or cut down, like if you look at the Grand Canyon in Arizona and so many different areas, Devil's Tower and these other things, like these trees were only able to be created because of the environment that it was able to withstand. And so take that for what it is. And even with caterpillars and moths, they have to go in specific cocoons, and there's like a struggle as they grow out, or as they push out of it. And even with species within eggs, when like trying to push out of the egg also like is what helps move their muscles and their tissues and allows them to grow and strengthen up so that they can be ready to experience the outside world. And also why I believe that people should be having more natural births, and only if it's absolutely necessary to have things like C-sections and things like that. You're going on these tangents. Adam before Eve, because Eve was in the evening, so Adam had to come before Eve. So even within Africa, like I wanted to talk about that, like the Chad River, it was larger than all of the lakes, the Great Lakes of Ontario combined by like a third at least, and which is significant. And it even proves that this was like a fertile crescent, and that hasn't been decimated, and because of things like over-exhausting resources and exploiting people within the area, and then like a mass event that happened. And also very interesting that within that area, like look at where the largest volcano is and when it last erupted and possibly why. So if there's like a mass advanced civilization that lived there that started getting its resources exploited, and then like there was like possibly like again like a lot of waste, a lot of pollution that had to be like put into landfills and dump sites. And what do? They build them up into these like what looks like these like anthills or whatever you want to call it. They're man-made, and then when these like materials like mix together, after a certain period of time, possibly these are things that can lead to what we're calling volcanic eruptions. And what else could possibly happen in that area? Like, you never know. I could go on all these tangents, even with Helen of Troy, like representing like the goddess of spring, Helen being the representation of the goddess of spring, and then being saved from the winter. And so that it wasn't a horse in some accounts, some said that it was like a ship in other accounts, but this is all, again, hidden symbology and allegory in a lot of different texts. And I would also recommend people read The Mystic North by Dr. Christopher McIntosh. And I'll link his video, his documentary, or whatever you want to call it, his, not his documentary, one of his interviews, or what you want to call it online. I'll link it because it's very interesting. about the sun and the moon and the impact, even on the body, with parasites being more active within our body during the full moons and less active during the new moon, and how women's cycles are in line with like the moon phases, and new moon, generally speaking, is the period of time where women would have like their periods, because like when we're less, our parasites or everything is like less active because of the, again, how we're impacted by the moon. We can relax more and allow for that that process. And then also the full moon also, generally speaking, can be like the time when women start becoming more fertile again. Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He BS's so much stuff, and he reads off of cue cards and scripts. And if anyone ever wants to have interviews with him and mentions anyone else that may appear to be smarter than him, he just completely like dismisses these people and like says like negative things about them, and then just goes on about how amazing he is again. And it's just like, oh my god! And he's lying about so many of his credentials. And he's not as smart as people think he is, and neither is Bill Nye the Science Guy or any of these other people that are paid to mislead us. And just please research this stuff. Even Barack Obama, this is not to say anything negative towards him, but just to give more facts. He's mulatto, his mother is white, his father's black. And he was raised mostly by his mother. If you look at the accounts, all the accounts that he said, does this matter? No, it doesn't. But like, why lie about these things and project him in such a light that makes him appear to be something that he's not? And Michelle Obama, who he's repeatedly called accidentally Michael Obama, was born a man. And there's so many different like photos out there that I've shared. There's so many different people within Hollywood that have even admitted this and then died. Like was it Liv Tyler? Anyway, I forget the name, but I'll link it. Celebrities even within Hollywood were saying that they knew that Michelle was Michael. And so why lie to people? Like, why not allow people to have informed consent? Why not allow people to have the truth? So this is why, like, if you can't trust them even with like the basic information, how can we trust them with like information that's going to do nothing but, benefit them and the groups that they're working in? And I've shown how corrupt all levels of government within the US and Canada and all over the world are. But like, more importantly, I live in Canada. Even Richard Dawkins, like, vilifying God, calling him like all these like awful things, yet he and like the people that he backs and supports are the ones that are doing all the stuff that they're blaming on God for allowing to happen. Okay, so like, why don't you just not do it? Like, you're saying like, oh, he's allowing us to do this stuff, like me and my like weirdo friends, but it's his fault. Like, come on, guys. Like, no, like, just like the more we are in, he needs to read a Bible. And maybe like take some mushrooms and have a spiritual journey, because like he's so far removed from his spirituality and accessing his higher levels of consciousness, no, he would be, because like, again, even to lie to people, like this is part of like the problem, and misleading people and making them think that they're insignificant and nothing, and that everything's been like researched and explored already, when this is like, it's just ridiculous how we lie to our children and continue to do it, because we'd rather be blissfully ignorant, I don't know, and or like not like have our children see us fail and or be wrong when that's also part of life. Yeah, even Bill Nye was calling on attack. Make the he makes fun of the. Yeah, he's like basically saying that anyone that attacks what he says is attacking like the human race. So like, if I'm talking about flat simulation Earth or gravity like not being real and all these things about space, then or that I talk about the Bible, he's saying that like me saying this stuff is an attack on the human race. When I'm saying he is literally paid to say that, and he is the one, and his friends are the ones that are lying to us and keeping us stuck and miserable and depressed, and the world is collapsing around us because of people like him. And this is not, it's not okay anymore, right? And he's even saying that parents need to stop teaching this stuff to their kids, and that kids need to be taught that they came from rocks, and that they're billions of years old and all this stuff. And yeah, and they keep on using the terms that people believe the Bible literally, and that's their way to like keep on lying to us, because they're like, anyone that like, so you got 46% of people that follow the Bible, various different things, right? Like some people are flat earthers and believe in the Bible. Some people are globe earthers and believe in the Bible. Some people believe in creationism. Some don't. Like there's such a mixed bag. Some people take it literally. Some don't. And spread the good messages of the Bible, and then some don't. Some it's all about fear, but yeah, that this is how they get people to be divided. Like 46% of people against 54% of people. Like that's a great perfect number, right? If you can't get people on skin color or language or language or other things anymore, like, then you'll get them on religion over like the little like just ridiculous things and lie to people about it. Because then you're getting people upset that are Christians, for example. They're like, we don't believe in that, or we're like, that's not like what we like what we think. And then the people that are atheists or whatever, they're like, oh, like that's so stupid. You know what I mean? And then they're like, atheists are so stupid. And there's just so much going on here, reasons to divide people. So what I meant to say about Sirius in 150 AD, huge difference in 150 AD. It was a red star, not white. And I believe even also in the early 1900s. Not in the early 1900s. But anyways, there was something else I read that it was like at least 150 years that was possibly read as well. But I'll take that out and just say at least 150 after death was it was a different color. So that also proves that even with the stars in the sky and various different supernovas and stuff like that that have been out there, why are there not more proof of more of them if even the galaxy and the universe is again billions of years old, when stars can change colors even after 150 AD, and we're now in 2023. Oh, and I was talking about talking about oil and how it's the second most abundant liquid resource in the world, and how there's been major cataclysmic events that have happened that have caused what we're calling biofuels to be in certain layers of the earth, these black layers or whatever you want to call it, that that are very highly pressure in highly pressurized areas, and that needed to be heated up and processed that way, heated up and pressure in order to be turned into oil. But even in the 1970s, there were people that were saying that they were recreating oil in less than 20 minutes in a lab, and then people that even in Texas that were making oil out of turkey guts, even again decades ago, and that people were even in Australia and other areas decades ago that were taking sewage sludge and making it into oil, into these biofuels. So if this was stuff that was happening even then, we really need to take a look at where we're getting our oil now, how we're getting it, and how we can harness it or use it within all of our provinces, so that we can all become more self-sufficient. We can have our own ways of creating and generating wealth within our own provinces more, and then and so much more. And so I think this is also another outlet, and possibly, if it's been humans and different species that have been liquefied or whatever you want to call it, or turned into this fuel source, then why are we not burying our people more too, so that we can use them as fuel? Because now it would make me want to be buried. I could talk even about stalactites and stalactites. How there's even proof that even on the Washington Monument, which was built in 1922, that it takes 100 at that point it was when they were showing these stalactites, it was even in the 1970s, so 50 years, and they were already showing stalactites, and how there have been mines that have been closed all over the world. And pay attention to this point too, please. There have been mines that have been closed all over the world, that that they started having and establishing cave formations within 55 years. So they were closed off, and then 55 years later, people go in and excavate the mines, or whatever you want to call it, and cave formations built. So look at all the caves that we're seeing all over the world in various mountains. I've been all over the world, even in Spain. I saw so many different cave formations, and then there's so many different ones also in the US, and then obviously Jerusalem and so many other areas of the world. And and in Canada. And then so were these like old mines that were used to exploit and take away our resources, and then closed off, and then shown as these cave formations. So many things to think about. Even Jane Goodall, like she's another person that's part of like these like scripted media, like with chimpanzees her entire life, getting paid so much money to do that, and like now talking about how like we need like population control, and like we need to have like a population of like 500 million people. She was just like literally saying that again at the World Economic Forum. Like, lady, you are 1,000,000 years old, and you have been rich, and you've had a privileged, entitled life because of lying to people. And so like oh yeah, it's so frustrating. Like how is she still like relevant? Like, again, it's because she's paid. It is what it is. It's fine. I think on that note, I think I will leave it at that, and I hope that people pay attention to what's going on in Europe, how they're still trying to escalate tensions with Russia to cause more, like for more time, more resources, like some more of these people that own corporations that are part of the military, pharmaceutical, industrial complex. Like the longer they can like ride this out too, like the more money they're getting in the process, right? So like the longer, again, like we push this COVID, narrative, and flu, and all these other inoculation narratives, and climate narratives, and war narratives, so many other things, and hiding adverse side effects of the therapeutics that were imposed on us and lied about, and so much of the actual data censored from us. It's a sham. Anyways, on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.